Coming up on today's show, Maria Palumbo is a coach and psychotherapist with 15 years of experience. She guides couples and individuals worldwide through love, sex, trauma, and connection, helping them build bold, lasting, and powerful relationships with heart and heat. Welcome to Loving Without Boundaries, where we hear inspiring stories, share actionable advice, and talk about the challenges and the joys of ethical non-monogamy and polyamory. I'm your host, Kitty Chambliss. Coming up, my conversation with Maria Palumbo. Welcome back to Loving Without Boundaries, where I am intrigued and excited to talk to Maria Palumbo, who I found via one of her really powerful Facebook posts. And I reached out because I thought this could be a really fascinating conversation. So Maria, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, Kitty.
Awesome. Okay. So I've already shared your bio with our listeners, but I always love to give you an opportunity to share about yourself in your own words.
Ooh, professionally, personally, anything. A little bit of everything.
Yep. Wherever you'd like to share. Yep.
So I think a lot of my personal work that I've done on myself, my therapy, my couples therapy has really made me especially good at the work that I do in the world, because I'm constantly figuring out, where can I grow? Where's my shadow side? How is that interrupting my process or my relationships? And so that, for me, serves as like a guide to help me understand what it takes to work and grow in relationships. And then I pass that on to my clients. So I've been working with a lot of people for a very long time, all over the world. And more recently, my focus has been in psychotherapy, working with couples locally. And I also will take on clients virtually that are a bit further away via coaching. But it's always been so moving to me to see how we all really hunger for love, and we all really hunger for acceptance, and we just don't often know how to go about it and what that means. And then our past gets in the way, or our trauma. And I just love helping people figure it out and make sense of the relationships, so they can actually have the relationship that they're hungry for, instead of all of the cycling that we can do and that I've done, all the mistakes that I've made. Hopefully all of my mistakes have been actually useful because I learned from them. And so honestly, so do my clients.
Thank you for that. I'm sure we're going to dive into some of that, whatever you'd like to share. And I'm excited to hear more about your work as well. And for our listeners, we also found that we're both around the same general area of the world. I'm originally born and raised in Philadelphia, and you said you're in Jersey. Is that right? New Jersey?
I'm from New Jersey, but now I'm in Pennsylvania. But I spent a lot of time in Philly. Definitely Philly girl too, in many ways.
I love that. Yeah. I often joke around that you can take the girl out of Philly, but you can't take the Philly out of the girl. So I'm still a Phillies and an Eagles fan through and through. Probably not honor my dad, who's not with me anymore. So honor him. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. You have to. You have to.
Love that. Okay. So, and please share, are you okay if I ask you some questions about your background when you were younger?
Definitely.
Okay. So I'd love to ask you what I call your light bulb question. You can answer in any way that really, feels true for you, or what you're willing to share with our listeners. And that is, I as we, since we were talking before we started recording, I serve folks who tend to be sometimes coloring outside of the lines of heteronormative mononormativity. And I also, this podcast is partly to just help anyone have a healthy relationship, regardless of your orientation or what type of relationship structure you're in. But I'd love to ask you, a lot of people that do the work that you and I do, because we do have an overlap, have a bit of a story or a reason why they do that work. So I'd love to know more about, was there either a moment in your life or a series of moments in your life where maybe you realized that you were a little bit different than either your friends or the people around you that maybe ultimately led you to do the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, I love that question. When I was 18, I went through a significant trauma in relationship to the church that I was in. And I essentially got my heart broken by the pastor, the youth pastor of the church, that I thought I was in love with him because I was a kid and he was an adult. And I had this massive depression that came from that. And because of that depression, and the work that I had to do to revive my soul, I thought, I need to stay on this earth. Like I shouldn't take myself out. I shouldn't kill myself because that was
Mm,
a thought that came into my mind.
wow.
Instead of doing that, I need to stay and I need to learn what it takes to have a full life after trauma and then pass on what I learned. So that was the first time that I thought maybe there's a reason for feeling this bad or feeling this different. Maybe there's a purpose to it, and maybe in time I'll see it. Um, and I did. I went to school, I went to grad school, I got busy learning how to really support people to be who they're meant to be, regardless and
Mm,
despite of what they've been through, and sometimes because of as well. And that has been incredibly enriching. And then there was another moment that I recognized. I mean, there's definitely a series of moments in my life when it comes to relational differences where I found myself feeling, why do I feel this way towards these people? I shouldn't feel attracted to more than one person, or I like, what's wrong with me? Am I just looking for attention? Am I insecure in myself? And as time went on, I realized in relationship with my husband that my orientation is polyamorous, that I can live in a monogamous way, not necessarily as fulfilled or as happy, um, but I can do it. However, my orientation is more so aligned to just really deep connections with other people that often includes being in love with them, or being sexually involved with them. It doesn't have to, but it can. And when I finally recognized that piece of me, that felt very energizing and very terrifying because
mm.
I grew up very religious, which I know I'm sure many people who have decided to be polyamorous did. And we're all hungover essentially from religion. I grew up religious and I knew that this was not going to be accepted and not okay, to my mother, to my family. And I was very much scared of that. But I pursued polyamory despite of it. And in that process, I recognized what I really needed and what I really wanted and who I am, and what type of relationships are actually nurturing for me. I made a lot of mistakes, though, to figure out and get to where I am at right now. A lot of heartache, a lot of trauma bonding. And I think that's where that piece came from on Facebook that you're talking about that you like so much was
Mm.
the trauma, that being attracted to someone who is telling me what I want to hear and me feeling that this is my person, this is my everything. And then the reality is they are not. They're playing a really good game to get in my pants, to have my attention. And that has been the type of person that I was attracted to for a long time. It took different shapes until more recently I'm starting to really understand what it means to love more than one person, and how I don't have to suffer. I don't have to have one healthy relationship and one shadow relationship, which I think is what I was
Mm.
doing for a very long time.
Wow. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and open. And I resonate a lot with your story from my own life in so many ways. The religious trauma, the healthy relationship versus a shadow relationship, the concerns about trauma bonding. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of our listeners resonate with that as well. Do you mind if I ask a few more questions regarding
Please
that?
do. Yeah, yeah.
So when you realized that you had an orientation, and this is actually before I asked what I was going to ask. Um, some people get a little confused between if polyamory is an orientation or if it's more of a choice, like a
Hmm.
lifestyle choice. And sometimes I'll ask that when I'm doing an interview just to see. I know what my own thoughts are, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that since you use that
Yeah.
word orientation.
I would say that my orientation is polyamorous, but I can choose to not be in a polyamorous relationship, or I can choose to be monogamous. I can choose to act a certain way, but who I am in my core,
Mm,
if I'm not masking and not trying to fit into something, is someone that wants to create family with a lot of people and wants all of us to take care of each other, which often does include this, romantic eros energy that I really enjoy and that really brings me a lot of life and a lot of
mm,
fun and vibrancy and creativity. Also have to be careful with it too, because it can go, like any relationship, go to the side of hurting me, hurting myself, which is something that I'm often very mindful of now, really working on and looking at.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And another thing I'm curious about is when, like, roughly, if you remember, like, what age did you realize that you oriented towards polyamory?
I was fighting it since I was 16. I'm like, why do I like both brothers? I shouldn't. It's like, choose one. What the hell's wrong with you? I was fighting it. I'm like, I don't like what's wrong with me. So fighting. When I stopped fighting it, I think I was 32, maybe in my 30s. Um, was it my 30s or was it my late 20s? Oh no, I think it was my late 20s, my very late 20s, and then my 30s were making a lot of mistakes and kind of being a noob and dating all of the wrong people, because potentially kind of what I did in monogamy, honestly, until I found my partner. It's just messing up and
Mm.
not really knowing what I'm looking for, thinking I know, but then just settling for what's available because I'm scared that I'm too weird to be loved.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Thank you for that vulnerable share. And again, I'm sure a lot of people listening can resonate with that. And I too thought there was something wrong with me for a very long time and went through depression and sought therapy to help me figure it all out. And I didn't realize I was polyamorous. First, I had to learn what the word was, but I was probably about 37, 38. So yeah, you
Mhm.
got there earlier than I did. And so, based on what you said, it sounds like you realized your polyamorous orientation by the time you met your now husband. Is that right?
I did. Well, I realized it after I met him, of course. So
Oh,
we were together. We were monogamous for amount of years, and then I realized that I was poly by being attracted to somebody else, and it kind of blew up our marriage. Honestly, I had an affair. We got into therapy. We started working heavily on ourselves. It blew everything up, but it had to be blown up in order to be where it is now. I wouldn't, prescribe this to anybody. Go have an affair. And if you're the type of person that can grow from it, it can, if you allow it, make the relationship real instead of this performance of what we think we need to be because our parents were that way. And we've decided to be the people that used it as our really one of our greatest learning experiences that brought us even closer. Our relationship is a million times closer because of the affair and because of polyamory and the road that we chose to go down together at that time. And Yeah, it was definitely an awakening for myself to learn how to honor myself while still honoring my relationship.
wow, that's fascinating. And so, again, thank you for your vulnerability. I'm a former cheater. I went through Catholic school. I was telling you before we started recording.
Yeah.
I didn't start dating until college, and I thought, well, if I've got to find the one and only that I'm gonna be with for the rest of my life, they better be flipping amazing, you know. So I kept cheating on one boyfriend to see if the next one was going to be any better. And I just
Mm.
kept doing that for over a decade. So I'm also, healing from that part of my life, and that until I eventually again learned the word polyamory, which I didn't even know was a thing until my late 30s. And then I thought, oh, I'm just a polyamorous person living in a
Right.
monogamous world, and no one ever told me about this before. Why? Why didn't I hear about this before?
Right.
Uh, yeah. So, what were some of those early challenges that you faced as you are navigating through that affair and coming to terms with your polyamorous orientation? And
Yeah.
how did you overcome them?
The early challenges, I think one of them was like in the beginning, the years following where we became polyamorous after the couple of years of healing, all the work I had to do to heal our relationship. I think some mistakes I made were a bit of mononormativity, seeking that, which is having one really healthy partner, and that's the person I can depend on. And I love this person, but I can, like, I don't need to have more than one really healthy person. Like, I'll put up with this idea of difficulty in other relationships because I have one person, so it's too much for me to ask to have two people that really support me and aren't taking from me, emotionally, energetically, or even sexually at times. So I had to really contend with that part of me that feels that she's unworthy for so much love and adoration and joy, and learn how to really be with that part, because I think that part still gets nauseated or still gets afraid when I'm now in a relationship, when I date someone, because the thought of, are you worthy of all this love? Like, you already have so much love. Why do you think you deserve more? Why do you think you even need more? And yeah, this very much this like succubus little inner child trauma voice comes up that I'm learning to
Mm.
really be with and not let determine my path of dating, or whom I date, or how I date them. I really think I needed the beginning of polyamory to make all the mistakes, working too hard to be liked, putting sex above the connection because I was afraid I was going to lose that person. So I would be desperate for them, which was often true. If I felt like I was desperate for them, usually it was because I didn't really have them. And, there wasn't really a consistency or a depth there, even though they were saying all the right things or doing the right things. And oh, wow. And also just moving too quickly into deeper connections and deeper relationships because I wanted to create family. So bringing people so fast into our lives and
Mm.
thinking that they were trustworthy, and depending on them, even though they were giving very much red flags or very much mixed signals. Because I think there's a big, huge pool of poly people who are really just polysexual, which means I really
Mm.
want to engage with you in a sexual way, and kind of use you as a hot side piece because I'm bored or I'm tired or because my wife doesn't do this thing or she gave me a hall pass. There's a smaller sect of us that are like, no, you're not a piece to me, and you're not like a pawn. You're actually a whole person that I want to acknowledge. Not many people know how to do that. All of these couples and all these people are just so fascinated by their eroticism. And as I was too, it's like we all have to go through this sort of adolescent part of ourselves that's like, oh, how much can I feed myself? Like a hungry ghost. How much can I give myself? When we recognize in time, it's not about the feeding, and it's not about all the connections. It's more so about the depth and the respect and the building something together, which feels it's a bit more rare, of course, but I think it's possible. And that's what I'm experiencing more so now than ever, because I think when I started off, I just didn't know how to date. And now I'm really learning how to do it in a polyamorous way.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I really resonated with a lot of what you said there, including for me, my husband and I, we've been together over 22 years now, and we met later in life. So we found out that we weren't able to have children. We were infertile.
Mm,
And so I often thought of polyamory in the way you're describing it as well, as a way to create family, a modern
mm,
family. So I really resonate with what you said there, is in that maybe moments of desperation to create family, maybe I would make a quick decision before I really got to know somebody so that they could truly earn my trust. And I also really resonated with what you said there too about that a lot of people might call themselves polyamorous or be a little confused, but what they really are is more polysexual. They're not, 'cause it takes work. It takes, I think, a lot more inner reflection and work and skill building to truly step into a polyamorous orientation and lifestyle and do it respectfully and with integrity for everybody involved. So I'm really resonating with a lot of what you said there. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Including, I
resonate
would
with what
say,
you're saying.
yeah, yeah, and I definitely have made that same mistake of I never really thought of it as maybe I have a worthiness, core limiting belief going on in the background,
Yeah.
but yeah, it almost seemed too hard to
Yeah.
say, I want 2 or 3, like, kick-ass, amazing, fulfilling relationships, and instead I would kinda settle with, like, I've got this incredible marriage with my husband that people envy even knowing
Yes.
that we're practicing polyamory, so I might kinda settle over here or lower my standards, just I don't know if it's because I thought I didn't deserve it. I think it was for me, it was a little bit like it was just too hard to find. You know?
It
Um,
is. It's a high standard, man.
exactly, exactly, and so
And that's what I thought
instead
so too. I really resonate with that.
yeah. Yeah, and I've been back out in the dating world. Well, I had a separation I was telling you last March, and I didn't want to get on the dating apps, and then I finally got on Hinge back in August. Had some interesting experiences, some not great experiences, like, oh, ghosting. Yeah, that's a thing now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of pulled off of those again. And so it's been interesting because I've also just decided, you know what? My standards are high and I'm going to keep them there. And I can be really patient and do some inner work. And also, my husband and I have just had some challenges. Like we just said goodbye to our furry family member, our beloved
Oh,
18-year-old kitty. And so we're also grieving that loss. And so now I'm just in a different place in my life where I'm being very careful about creating family and careful about who I let into my energetic field while we're kind of rebuilding in some ways. So there's so much I really appreciated about your share there. It was really beautiful. Thank you.
wow. I love that. I really resonate with all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, cool. Well, for our listeners, I'd love to ask you more specifically, well, however you'd like to answer, like if you'd like to answer first about what kind of led you into the work you're doing now and becoming a psychotherapist,
Hmm.
um, or we could pivot into that Facebook post and I'll share people the title of it in a moment, but you're the one that knows your life story and what brought you to what. So however you'd like to lead into that. Which avenue feels better?
The post or my job, essentially. Um,
Yeah.
well, I feel like I touched a little bit on what brought me to wanting to do this work of I wanted to save myself and then
Mhm.
teach others how to save themselves. And I felt like coaching and therapy are just such wonderful tools to be able to do that. And I started leading retreats and workshops, and slowly I'm getting back to it. I think COVID really shook me. I had a retreat booked in Italy before like all of those people died, like the month before. Before COVID hit Italy, and it just something really hit me about that. And I think it's taken a long time to go back and to host in Italy or host anywhere. And I think that is on the horizon, is creating these deep, intimate luxury retreats for women who are just reclaiming, the joy in their bodies and their sexuality, and trying to listen to our voice and make it louder than the voice of society and our parents and religion. So in the meantime, before I do retreats again, I'm working as a therapist. I'm a licensed social worker. Excuse me. And it's been about 15 years that I've worked with clients in a coaching capacity, but I decided to get back to therapy. It just felt right to get my license, have every tool that I possibly could have and every tool that I want in order to effectively support people in this experience, I'm writing a lot about couples and love and relationships, as you saw on Facebook, and taking my pool of writing and work and sharing it through social media, and eventually, through YouTube and podcasting. But right now, writing has really been the way that I can figure out what I've gone through personally and make sense of what my clients went through and turn it into something that hopefully somebody can see themselves in and feel a bit less alone and a bit relieved. Like, okay, I'm on the right path. It's okay. I'm not broken. I'm, even in my brokenness, maybe I am complete. If I feel broken right now, it's okay.
Hmm. Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah, and then let's bring it over to the post. So that's how I found out about you. I mean, somehow I guess you were in my feed. Maybe we were. I have like 4,500 friends on Facebook, so there's obviously I don't know every single person or how I connected with them, but somehow it showed up in my feed. This post that was entitled, "The most attentive man in the room is often the one who's lying to you," and I was probably like, I don't know, at the gym or somewhere, and I just was riveted as I read this post because it just really spoke to me and my jaw kind of dropped. And I was
Aw.
like, oh my God, I feel like she's talking right to me and my own experiences. And which made me realize like we probably have very similar experiences. And I just imagine that post probably helped a lot of people to feel seen and validated for what you were describing, which I'd love to ask you, like, if you can maybe summarize that, or for our listeners, I do have a little excerpt here I could read, but I'd rather ask you first if you'd like to
Yeah.
summarize part of it and maybe what prompted you to share that post. It was really powerful.
It captures the normal part of I think, our evolution, which is being in love with an idea and not realizing that you're in love with the idea, not realizing that I'm falling for an idea of someone that they're painting, but being so wrapped up in this world that they're creating that I'm losing pieces of myself that I didn't even realize I was losing. Because I'm also
Mhm.
gaining a lot of confidence or clarity or joy and love and like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And that in that high, there's a lie in that high. And there's shame that can come from being the recipient of someone who really seems to be a certain way to you and to others, but ultimately is not, when push comes to shove, is either highly disrespectful, ghosts you, or, just leaves you in a pretty brutal way that you just never saw coming. And,
Mhm.
my clients and myself, we all kind of like to look at, okay, what did I do? Like I did this wrong. I shouldn't have done this. We over fixate on, what I could have done better. And I really wanted to write a piece that is about, excuse me, not over fixating and not like staring to the abyss inside of us and saying, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that, in this way that's is hurtful, and instead just really holding accountability in a strong place in your body
Mm.
where that person's actions did not align with their words, and that's harmful. And yes, maybe you ignored this or this, about whatever they said, or yeah, maybe of course there's little pieces of that for you, but for you to harm yourself or to live in this sort of prison of your mind because this person that you love so deeply decided that they really don't love you, um whoa, that's just throwing salt on a wound that as femmes, as women, we tend to do. And so I'm hoping that when people read that piece, there can be a healing where, self criticism might have been, or if I was better might have been. Because honestly, that's not the truth. But I truly believe that if someone walks away, you didn't have them to begin with, and that we can't really break something that is meant for us, and that the people who are meant for us will work it out. We will work and fight to the death, in very difficult
Mm.
circumstances, no matter what, to be in true ethicity, like to be in our ethical mind and to have a deep sense of accountability for ourselves and for others. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, beautifully, beautifully stated. Are you okay if I read a little excerpt from that
Mm,
post?
mhm.
Okay. All right. So just for our listeners, the title again of the post on Maria Palumbo's Facebook page was "The most attentive man in the room is often the one who's lying to you." So part of the excerpt that really spoke to me loud and clear says, "You realize that his attentiveness was never intimacy, it was strategy. His devotion was never full devotion, it was leverage. His vulnerability and authenticity was only as deep as the benefit it offered him. But there is a gift in this unraveling, a fierce, clarifying gift, because when the lie collapses, you have a choice to save your years for the one who wants you completely, not just the version of you that protects him from reality. The liar loses access to the fantasy he built around you, but you gain access to the woman you are becoming after all this burns down and the embers stop aching." I'll leave it there. But yeah,
Mm,
really beautiful. Really was beautiful. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah. It's
So
cool to
yeah, and
hear
it
it
spoke
read.
to yeah. Oh, cool. That's neat. Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything? What do you? Another few questions. Like, what are you excited about with your work? Like, is there any upcoming workshops or any projects that you're really thrilled about right now?
I we just took in 2 kids, we adopted them, so my mind, has been very much focused on getting them settled and also working with my couples in session. I mean, that's such a big joy and big love of mine, watching my couples do just incredible big work to be who they are, work through affairs, work through grief, work through opening up, understand if they're supposed to be together or not. Is this just addiction, or do I love you? There's such a fine line. It's sometimes so
Mm,
hard to figure that out. So I work with a lot of couples on that, and a lot of individuals who might be addicted to a person that are like, oh shoot, this cycle. I really want to fix this cycle. I want to end this now instead of continuing to torture myself. I think in the future, I would definitely want to host probably a local retreat more so in the spring or in the summer. I hosted this beautiful event many years back called Body Love Goddess, which was a celebration of sexuality, gender, and body. And we went into a field and we like painted our bodies and dressed as goddesses and took gorgeous pictures. And I thought, that was so meaningful. I want to bring that type of applause, like that inner applause to who we truly are, physically, emotionally. I want to bring that back. So some version of that probably is on the horizon, speaking to some photographers. And we'll see whatever my time and my space allows. Definitely writing. I've noticed there's been like a few months of not writing as much lately. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get back to writing and sharing and getting that out there for everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And before we start to close out, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to address or any parting words for our listeners?
I would, a parting word that I guess something that I'd like to leave you with is I think in the deepest pain and the deepest loss, um, there is this, there can be this awakening that happens that uh, could not be experienced without that loss. So even though the loss or that heartbreak is so heart wrenching, it often brings us alive and shows us a piece of ourselves that we need to see or we needed to retrieve that we didn't know was lost. And for
Mhm.
me, mine was more so realizing I was polyamorous. I had my heart broken again more so recently. I'm like, shoot, I think I'm poly. I can't ignore this or deny this anymore. And I'm really super grateful for that. So if something is breaking your heart or you're feeling grief, really look for, whoa, what am I gaining? Even though I feel like I'm losing so much, there's a piece of me that I can gain through this and help me see that universe, show me what that is. Who am I really now?
Mhm. Oh, that was really heartwarming and beautiful. And I couldn't agree more that using in my own life, just as in a quick example of when I went through that separation last year, I don't know if you've ever read the book Conscious Uncoupling. Have you ever read that?
I haven't read it, but I've heard a lot about it. Yeah.
It's fascinating, and it has all these exercises and
Yeah.
these steps that you take when you're consciously uncoupling, and it took me something like 16 or 18 hours to go through all of those exercises, And every time I go back and read it, because I've read it like 2 or 3 times, I'm like, "Oh, that's right. I had this breakthrough and realize, this happened
Mhm.
in my childhood that's still showing up in my life today,"
Yeah.
in a framework of like that self-responsibility of how did I contribute to what happened? And like you said, not in a way to shame myself, but in a way to love myself, heal
Exactly.
myself, and then keep my standards high for whatever next enters into my life. So that was
Yeah.
really, really beautiful. So with that, I just want to thank you so much, Maria, for taking the time. It took us a little bit to coordinate this, and I appreciate your patience with that and you taking time out of your busy schedule of helping so many people. And congratulations on adopting those 2 children. Where can folks find you and your work if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I'm on social media on Facebook. We can share my links, Facebook and Instagram. And then you can also, I guess you can email me through my website, www.mariapalumbo.com. That would be a good way if you're interested in coaching or if you're more local, if you're interested in therapy. I would be happy to talk about it and do like a 15-minute chat and see how I can support you. And then if you follow my social media, you can also see my events. And that's where I just share a lot of my life and my growth and my learning and my writing. So that's pretty much the best place, most up to date place right now of what I'm working on, what I'm offering, my writing, and so forth. My Substack is also linked through my social media. And that's a bit more intimate, more transparency for me in my experience. I tried to take what I go through and sift through it, find the gold, and then share it there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks again for letting me get to know you and just having a beautiful, vulnerable, and really honest and forthright conversation. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you heard, are struggling with some aspect of your relationships, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit to work with me as your relationship coach, here's what I invite you to do next. Head over to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. That's lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply and book a call to speak with me. I'll get on the phone with you for about 45 minutes and we'll get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, exactly what's not working well in your relationships right now. Number 2, ideally where you'd like to be and what might be getting in the way. And number 3, the exact strategy to get you there, helping to close that gap. Remember, creating healthy, open relationships does not typically happen by itself. Many often need expert guidance to make it happen. We've helped clients all over the world to feel safe, happy, and secure in open relationships while not losing their mind or their cherished partners. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. I'm Kitty Chambliss, and let's talk soon.